to the Circle of Brilliance.
Yeah, why don't you do it this time? That'll be fun.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Circle of Brilliance. My name is David Harrell, and we're excited to have you today. Last session, we went through the master stream protocols and general guidelines and goals and talked about that at length. And I promised today that if you wanted, if the team wanted, we could look at handling objections as a way to close out that conversation. Do you want me to do that, Linda?
Well, let's ask Peter. Peter, what would you feel like? This is kind of an open discussion, conversation. Let's just learn what we need to learn for the day. So what would you like?
Yeah, I think too. I mean, I come from a sales background, and I think the process, works really well. And I have to say, just from my own experience, walking the path has really dramatically changed my closing ratio. In fact, come from a sales, using the walking the path, I rarely even feel I have to close because it naturally leads to me getting clients.
Yep.
Yep. Then you do it just right.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's very powerful. So, I think answering objections, certainly my training is the best way to answer an objection is before it comes up, to anticipate it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, that's why we call Master Stream an objection-free protocol.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Peter, have you been through Master Stream?
I have, and I was, I used the change grid, and I have been through it for years. And I think, Linda, I went through the training, and we were in Charlotte, I think, at one time too, when you were in Davidson, and as well as all the web. So for years, I've been on it. And then for a number of years, because at one time I was teaching as well as coaching and training, I just didn't have the bandwidth to take part of the meetings. So, but I'm, have some background in it for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to a client this morning, an insurance agent or an insurance carrier, and they have a whole underwriting staff that, continues to get submissions from agents trying to sell them on why this is a good risk and why they should underwrite it and accept it into the book. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I was talking about with the guy who heads that group is how valuable I think it is that underwriters have selling skills. Mm-hmm. Because even though they're trying to evaluate risk, they need to be able to ask intelligent questions about the risk and about the submission, and they should be able to ask or should know the process well enough to be able to almost reverse sell the agent into disclosing all the accurate information about the risk so a good underwriting decision can be made. But I see, I think all service professionals would benefit greatly from understanding the selling process.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we have to influence our ideas, and you're talking to a former commercial property underwriter, and the ability to sell your idea that that this is not a risk that we're comfortable with, and here's why. A lot of times underwriters get a rap that they're the ones raining on the parade.
Right. And that's absolutely not the case. But, the thing that I find with most underwriters is that they are so book bound, so procedure bound, so bound to the characteristics of their existing book that they don't use a lot of creative imagination or ask enough questions to really evaluate maybe a marginal risk or one that's, the example he gave me is that in their underwriting book, they'll only underwrite buildings that are 3 stories or less. And I said, well, what if you got a 5-story building that's 20 years old and has had no claims and no losses for 20 years? Why would you not underwrite that risk?
Good question.
So the thing is that a good underwriter should understand the selling process well enough and have enough creativity in their own ability to assess risk to maybe step outside of the box from time to time.
Yeah. And that brings into the personality profiles. Many underwriters are going to be very analytical and
Very.
buy the book and not be able to potentially see the big picture or go deviate beyond certain what's in the book or certain standards.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that could be a valuable stretch to say that they can stay the guardians of the assets, but at the same time recognize an opportunity, within judgment.
Yep. The insurance carriers, usually shoot themselves in the foot with agents more often than they need to. The agent is the lifeblood of any insurance carrier, and you want all the agents and the best agents representing your products to the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that, underwriters could be a little bit more of value in achieving organic growth and achieving, policy increases and things like that. If they were just a little bit more skilled at dealing with, producers who have, very strong selling skills and are obviously trying to push a risk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a good business opportunity.
Yep. Yep. Well, I will guarantee you that at some point I will be teaching MasterStream to that client, and they will, and the underwriters will be involved.
Cool.
Yeah, we're just getting started. There's so much work to do and so much development to be done, but I try to take things in a very methodical, way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one that rushes into a scene and says, I got the perfect training program for everybody in your company. Let's schedule it now.
Right.
I mean, even if that's the case and that it's true, in other words, I know that every leader and manager would benefit from ChangeWorks, would benefit from pride-based leadership. But there's a challenge in terms of making sure they're prepared to receive what it is that you want to give them.
Yeah, they have to be at the appropriate readiness.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, mostly the reason that I do the 360s or a cultural survey is so that people can see the actual gaps between ideally what they'd like to be doing and currently the impact they're having, or what they are doing and the impact it's having on the organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I usually start out there and then I evolve into the development process.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're going very in depth with the client, from the 360, the coaching, the leadership work, towards helping the entire organization have process that is going to help them grow mindfully, let's say.
My approach to a client is always that I'm looking to increase productivity and velocity. Most people don't have enough time and move too slowly with what they're doing. And if you can improve the outcomes by improving their skill sets and increase the velocity with which they're working, it can have a dramatic impact on productivity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me about your underwriting experience. Where were you at? Who were you with?
Oh gosh. Well, when I first got out of school, my brother worked for Aetna, and he was an actuary at
Oh,
the time.
wow.
And so I had, gotten a job offer for a bank, and he urged me to consider the Aetna. So they hired me in Atlanta in 82 as a commercial property underwriter in their Atlanta office.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for 18 months. And I realized it was a good job, but I'm not an analytic person. I was, let's say, amiable, expressive, and it was a great experience. I learned a ton. But after that, I got more into a sales operation and sales training. So I went completely different direction into medical sales, and then into equipment and instrumentation. And then a midlife crisis, got me into the coaching, the training, the teaching that I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for me, the midlife crisis was, I realized I climbed a ladder, but it was against the wrong wall.
Oh, yeah. Did you know that Dave Miller was a actuary?
No,
Yeah.
how about that? Yeah, no, it's I can appreciate, I can appreciate that knowing my brother.
Hmm.
I'll tell you, actuaries are so important in the insurance industry.
Hmm.
Being able to, and now the use of artificial intelligence in risk analysis and underwriting and claims handling and all of those different aspects of the insurance business. An actuary, I mean, I would think if you had a degree in actuarial science and a little bit of experience, you could guarantee that you would have a job in the insurance industry for the rest of your life,
I bet. I bet. Yeah.
or a bank.
Well, really, to be able to understand how many reserves that we make, and also, what are the losses that we can expect?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 I love the insurance business. I just find it to be fascinating.
Did you have an insurance background beforehand?
No, I didn't. I started out life doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I got a degree from the University of Michigan School of Business
Uh-huh.
with a major in organizational development. And I went to work for a small consulting company right out of college. There were only four of us.
Uh-huh.
And literally within 2 years, I had sold enough business that we quadrupled in size.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. I was driven when I was a kid. I mean, there was nothing I wouldn't do, from cold calling. One of my longest clients, he's been a client since 1991 and is still a client today, was a cold call.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. But that pays off. All that work and that drive pays off. And then
It does. It does. But I have to tell you, I don't know. I mean, I really appreciate my business and I love what I do and I'm very passionate about it. But from time to time, I mean, I'll tell you, that's why I love these sessions so much, because I really don't have a team around me to talk to when I have questions.
hmm yeah, no, the support and the community is great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, T's done an incredible job with this and with everything that he's done, T and Linda both. And it's great to have groups like this that you can chat with from time to time and ask questions of and share experiences with and all of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we learn from each other, and from through the years, I've learned from a number of colleagues, and the tools, and of course the tools that Linda, you and T have worked with and presented have been very helpful in my business too.
That's great. Thank you for that, Peter.
You know what I would like T to, I can't believe this, that I've been certified in master stream since 1991, and I've never been through pride-based leadership.
You haven't?
I haven't.
Yeah, now that I think about the pride-based leadership classes, right.
Yep. Nope. So, that would be an interesting certification to do, but you'd probably have to have some general interest in that to begin with to want to move forward with something like that. But that's the only program that I don't have a complete firm grasp of in the Napier family of products.
Yeah, back when we did the pride-based leadership, I think there was 8 people in the class. Perry Holly being one of them, Peter, I think you know Perry. And since then, T has done a lot of individual training or certification, I should say. And so maybe that would be the way this would be done, David, if you ever want to do that.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait and see when T gets back what his load looks like and what my load looks like. But no, I think that would be a great capstone, because, T often talks about pride-based leadership and a lot of the aspects of it. And although I find ChangeWorks to be enormously useful for leaders, I think pride-based leadership would probably be even more useful.
It's an amazing program. It is. It's an amazing, amazing program.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we should definitely talk about that when T gets back.
All right. All right. So yes, I had a little bit of fun this morning. I got up and I chew gum because I quit smoking 2 years ago. So I chew gum and I pulled off a crown this morning.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no.
Yeah, and I can't get to the dentist until Monday.
Oh, boy.
So I've got the crown, and what she told me to do was go to the place and get denture cream and put it on the crown and put the crown over the space, and that would hold it in place. But I don't know. We'll see. I'd rather have a dentist replace it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, geez.
Wow. Oh, boy.
Fun morning.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah. So, Peter, if you want, have you been through the Master Stream certification?
Yeah, I think Linda, correct me, I think that I have. Well, we did with the master, and it's been so many years ago, but I did get certified, and I think it was the master stream where we worked with all the different components of the change grid, and I got a number of manuals on the master stream. So I'm assuming that I am.
I'll check it out. In fact, while you and David are talking, I'll go in to your contract record and check it out, because we did a lot of different things. We did
Yeah.
the training, and then we did the certification, and then we did
Mhm.
the trainer. So we did a lot of different forms of it.
Right. And I remember I did get that. And again, with years ago, I used some components more than the other, but but I think the whole selling approach, I mean, I come from a sales background, so I found that to be very helpful and additive to what I do. And again, being a sole proprietor, the walking the path, the assessment, and then again, the ability to use, I'm thinking it is a master stream. It's very effective in really approaching people, whether it be for the first time or not, but being able to quickly build rapport.
Right. Absolutely. In fact, David, probably what we went over last Thursday.
Yep.
It's very, very, very high level, but you would probably really enjoy it, Peter. T won't be putting it up until he gets back, of course, because he cannot edit while he's in the middle of the ocean, but.
Yeah, wow. Well, hopefully they're away from hurricanes and all that. There's this incredible weather fronts all over now.
Yes, so far he said every day's been beautiful. They're in Bonaire today.
Good. Nice.
That is very nice. It started out really sunny here this morning, and now it's overcast.
Oh, really? Yeah, sunny here, but very windy.
Did you get much of the rain, Linda, that came through?
No, unfortunately. We got, maybe a couple of inches, but a couple of inches here, the ground just like either drinks it up or it runs off because the ground's so hard from the drought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at least you got a couple inches.
We got a couple inches, so maybe 4 inches a year so far.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
enough to take care of the cacti, huh?
Yeah, right. Yep, exactly. Enough to take care of the cactus. They're used to no rain at all.
So, Peter, tell me a little bit about your practice. What kinds of things are you working on?
Well, I've got the way I develop my marketing. I have like 5 referral sources. So I work with a couple of HR consulting firms, and my niche is preventing executive derailment. So what I found is that the pain point for many organizations is they have bright, driven, talented people who are sometimes MDs or architects or engineers but they don't have the emotional intelligence or the social skills. And they are, people don't leave their jobs, they leave their bosses typically. So, my entry point for many organizations is, working with those folks. And then it also then inevitably leads to working with their teams. And I use a 4-quadrant assessment, to help them develop trust, communicate in ways that manage conflict, hold each other accountable. And then along with that, I do programs on emotional intelligence. Of course, the personality. I got trained in Lencioni's 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So that runs off the DISC platform and helps them go up to 5 levels. And then I have 2 other referrals. These are EAP organizations, the employee assistants, and so they have me do webinars, and that's what keeps me typically from joining the meetings. But I do sometimes 15 webinars a week on anything from resilience, mental health awareness, dealing with difficult people, etc. And that seems to have taken off during the pandemic, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. I'm doing just about everything over Zoom, and I in talking to my client this morning, he heads up a couple of different groups for this carrier.
Uh-huh.
And he's going to invite me into his team meetings because he's doing them all via Zoom. So even though they're in New York and it's, not possible for me to just drop by, with everything still pandemic hardened and all of that. So he's going to invite me to a couple of his team meetings via Zoom.
That's great. Well, so you can see the dynamics,
Oh yeah, no, that's where the value comes from coaching, in my estimation. It's not the 360, it's not the analysis, it's not the planning and all of that. It's watching where the rubber hits the road and then being able to use those tools to direct and develop the individual, to achieve a better result.
Yeah. And, occasionally you get the people who just aren't really amenable to coaching.
Yeah, there's one lady that works for this company. She's married to the VP of administration, and she's the project manager for their IT ELIZA project, which is a big project for them. It's taking 4 legacy systems and boiling it all down into one new system. And, a huge project. And she's going to be taking it's called a management impact assessment. And, she was very concerned because she said, I'm a project manager, not a people manager.
Ah.
And I said, that's true. I said, but what this will reveal is the impact that you're having on that team. And I want you to know that all of that information is already out there. It's just not in a cohesive, understandable format. And that's what we're doing with this, is just taking all that existing feedback and pulling it into a format. So, when people say they're afraid of 360s, I say, what are you afraid of? The information's out there already. You just don't know what it is.
A good point.
That's really good, David. Yes.
Yeah. I like to say, I joke, I say, well, it's better to be stung by reality than comforted by an illusion.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And, but you may have found this too, David, that when people resist, I get a sense they'd rather have a root canal, speaking of teeth, than the 360. But afterwards, I hear more times than not, boy, everybody should go through this. It's almost like a life review.
Yep. No, it's, I find them to be very useful. My primary approach to my clients is analysis and development. And, I really kind of chomp at the bit sometimes. I want to get to the development piece more quickly. But like I said before, if they're not prepared, if they don't see a need, if they don't see a reason, if they don't see the value, then you're just talking to an empty room.
Yeah. Well, this is where, when you go to the walking the path, it's creating that tension, so Linda, and I guess Dave, you may have seen, but when we go to, what's the desired outcome, what are the blocks, and then their intuition. So if you don't address this, what's going to happen, then all of a sudden they realize that's unacceptable. And so when they realize, okay, the way we're going is not acceptable. And then I think what T brilliantly said is, okay, well, that's what we're going to work on. And as a coach and trainer and being, more relationship oriented, I always wanted to give a free session or whatnot. But the key is to raise that tension so they realize, okay, we need this work. And I think that's kind of the nuance of that, using this in the sales approach is that how do we create a tension that's going to activate that threshold of change?
Yep.
And I think it's useful in coaching too, for them to recognize, okay, the behavior got me here, but it's not serving me anymore, and helping them gain that awareness that if I don't make a shift, that's not going to bode well for my career or my life.
Yep. No, it's sometimes very difficult to get people to the threshold. That's why, when I do my master stream training and we get to phase 2, the analyzing phase, I tell people that crafting your own black hat and green hat questions is so important, because oftentimes the person that you're talking to will not share. I mean, you try to get their relationship tension down to power apathy and open up honesty, but sometimes they don't even know what they don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and that's
so you got to ask great questions.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's true. A lot of times they think, well, we want this training, but they really don't know, and what they think they want may not be appropriate.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've shared this story on this forum before, but my wife's firm wanted me to come in and do sales training for all the attorneys. And I ended up doing a little monkey survey that changed the direction of the engagement. But it's funny sometimes how companies decide on their own what it is that is going to take them to the next level, and they're sorely mistaken.
Yeah. So what did you find out with the attorneys? What did they need?
Oh my goodness. They were so upset with, just the current makeup of the firm and the executive committee and how they were operating the firm. And I just asked them 2 simple questions. I said, what do you need to do to be more successful, and what obstacles stand in your way? And what does the firm need to do to be more successful, and what obstacles stands in its way?
Yeah, good questions.
And boy, I'll tell you, I mean, I could pull it up, but what I did was I took the 3 or 4 pages of feedback into a meeting with the executive committee, with just 2 members of the executive committee, the CEO and his right hand. And I just let them read the feedback, and the feedback was so disturbing that instead of talking about sales training, they turned to me and they said, well, what would you do about all this?
Wow.
And what I did was I put, I think it was 4 or 5 teams together of lawyers who were all focused on something different. So one was focused on marketing and brand development. One was focused on career satisfaction. One was focused on hiring and retention. One was focused on succession planning. And I can't remember if there were any other ones, but what I did was I took the 50 lawyers that were in the firm, and I separated them all into teams with a team leader to tackle those issues, to do the due diligence, do the research, make recommendations, and move the firm forward. And in large part, it worked very well. They have a new website, they have a new brand. There's some nice things that are going on, but a couple of the attorneys who are in charge of these different groups really just don't care and are doing nothing
Yeah.
They don't have groups. They're not getting feedback. They're not changing anything. The firm has a uh, uh, oh, what do you call it? A mentor program, and they've had complaints about the mentor program forever. And the guy who's in charge of the mentor program is doing nothing but leaving everything exactly as it is. So I'm not still around advising them, but my wife is on the executive committee now and is making great contributions. So they did see I think a good result, but the executive committee was such that, I said, can I observe some of the meetings? Well, no, we never let anybody into those meetings. So observing them in their groups was one way to assess their competence, but I never really got to the point where I was, kind of inner sanctum where I could literally, give the CEO the feedback that he needed to do a better job.
Yeah. Well, the fact that they opened up to you on the survey shows a high level of trust.
Well, I've actually known people at that firm since probably about I'm going to say 91. I had a friend who I used to swim with who was a partner there. So I got to know that firm a long time ago. And then my wife didn't actually join the firm until about 8 or 9 years ago. And so I know the firm intimately now, but it goes to show how, some CEOs are so stuck in their own way. And frankly, the CEO said, I have 3 things in life that I care about: my wife, my practice, and being president and CEO of the firm. And that's exactly how he runs his day. That's his last priority. That's the last thing that he wants to be involved in. And usually when he gets in meetings and hears things that he doesn't like, he's very brusque and very forward, a true high D in the disc language, and challenging to work with.
Yeah, that's hard. And, people, I think the higher up a person goes in the organization, the less feedback they get.
Yep.
People are afraid of their position or their personality. And so unfortunately, they've made it, and yet it's hard to hold them accountable.
Yes, it's hard to hold them accountable. And sometimes they see you as a threat.
Yeah, right. Because they may lose control.
Yep.
Or perceive. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a hard one,
Yeah.
Really
what I've found is I use the path of self-discovery so often and for so many reasons, but I find when I'm losing control that the path always gets me back on it.
How so? Like when you're losing control, like what do you use? What do you do?
Well, I'll say, well, let's examine the situation. If I make a recommendation that is not accepted, or they want to do it a different way, I'd say, well, let's examine the situation. What are we talking about here? What's the situation? Where are we at? How do we get here? What kind of results are we getting from it? All of those types of things. And then I'll say, and how would we, in an ideal situation, like it to be? What would we like to see? What would we like to be achieving? What would we like to accomplish? And then, what stands in our way? So I just use the path to kind of refocus the conversation and lead to a solution.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, no, that's good. Revisiting it. And it's amazing when you ask a good question, it opens up their thinking.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I have found that the best leaders and the best coaches and the best consultants are the ones that ask the best questions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's true. That's true. At the right time.
At the right time. T's very good at that.
He's very good at that. I marvel sometimes.
Yep.
Because my brain's going one way and I'm going, Yeah, I would have totally moved it in the wrong direction, and he's going right down the right direction.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's too bad you can't bottle him.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a shot of tea every once in a while. That would help me out greatly.
Well, there you go. There's a new product, Linda, a shot of tea.
A shot of tea. I love it. I love it. Oh, that's great.